The lymphatic system is the body's lymphatic system. Assume you are at an airport. You are standing in line for security clearance. You are in public, in your socks, wrestling with those plastic bins, and people are staring at you. Are yelling at you for throwing liquids out of your bag and taking your laptop out of your bag. However, even in the midst of chaos, the line moves fairly quickly. That is to say, it should. Theoretically. Because, at the end of the day, everyone wants to get to where they need to go. You are probably thinking I am preparing you for a discussion about stress or anxiety. But I am not one of them. Instead, imagine that security line is your blood coursing through your veins. Your circulatory system, which is under high pressure. And you, my friend, are not just another harried traveler rushing to catch the next flight. To the city of Seattle, you are just a speck of blood plasma. And the most important thing for everyone in your queue is to get to their destination. However, rushing things through a blood vessel or a security line has its drawbacks. That if it moves too quickly, there is a chance something bad will get through. So, in the case of the airport line, the security personnel funnel people through every now and then. Random persons were ushered into a longer line for a full pat down and bag check. And your lymphatic system does something similar. It consumes some additional liquids and, while it is eventually assisting it in reaching its target, and it performs a background check to ensure it is genuine. Your lymphatic system may not be as well known as some of your more well-known organ systems, but it is just as important. Your cardiovascular and immunological systems both benefit from a system that quietly supports them. For one thing, it keeps your homeostasis in check by returning the majority of the fluid that has been reintroduced into your bloodstream. Which is excellent, because if it didn't, your ankles would swell up like balloons, and your feet would swell up like balloons. The fluid in your lungs would build up, and your blood volume and pressure would decrease to dangerously low levels, where your body simply gives up and dies. The lymphatic system, on the other hand, is not just another security line. There are also a number of checkpoints. Those are staffed by specially trained security officials who can treat minor infections on the spot. Alternatively, if they do not like what they have discovered, they might notify the entire community. It will be taken down by the immune system. So, in order to keep your blood volume levels where they should be and prevent you from collapsing. Every year, it saves your life by protecting you from dying from a staph infection. When you scrape your elbow, remember to thank your anatomy's unsung hero. Lymphatic system in your body. Your lymphatic system is divided into three components structurally. The first is your lymphatic system. It is a clear liquid that circulates throughout your lymphatic system. A large portion of your lymph begins as blood plasma that is forced out of your capillaries. Way down in the capillary beds, where nutrient exchange is aided by leakage. Gases between the hungry cells in your tissues and the blood in the capillaries. Some of the fluid is reabsorbed by the blood capillaries, but much of it is left behind. A great deal. The rest of your lymphatic system works to absorb it and return it to its proper location. Must travel, inspecting it along the way. You have a network of lymphatic vessels, for example, that aid in the reabsorption of fluid, and approximately 600 to 700 lymph nodes, which are essentially checkpoints that monitor and cleanse the lymphatic system. As it makes its way through, the spleen, thymus, adenoids, and tonsils are examples of lymphoid organs, as well as lymphoid tissues in other parts of the body. Special immune system defense cells are found in several of these organs and tissues. By ingesting germs and other dangerous antigens, all of which we will obtain, we will get infected. In the future lessons, we will go into a lot more. Others, such as the thymus and spleen, act as nurseries for lymphocytes, which are maturing immune cells. However, in order to comprehend the unique support role that your lymphatic system plays in your body, let us start with where it came from, your circulatory system's capillary beds. You will recall that capillaries transport blood from your arterioles to these beds. And, before that, your arteries, which feed blood into your venules and, eventually, your veins. As blood pressures force the transfer of nutrients and waste, this is where it happens. Plasma leaks out of the capillaries' arterioles and into the interstitial fluid between them. Cells from whatever tissue you are in at the time. On the venous end, most of that fluid is drawn back into the capillaries because of osmotic pressure. However, some are left behind. Of the 20 liters of water forced through the arteriolar system each day, only 17 liters is taken back up by the venous end of all the capillaries throughout your body. What about the other 3 liters? That becomes your lymphatic system. It is picked up almost instantly by nearby lymphatic capillaries as they wind their way through the body. They are perfectly suited for the job in and among the blood capillaries. Lymphatic capillaries are made up of endothelial cells that are loosely overlapping and have a pleasant appearance. Shingles, forming small flap-like valves that only open in one direction. As a result, when the pressure in the interstitial space exceeds the pressure inside the body, the flaps of the lymphatic capillary push open and take in fluid to relieve pressure. We can term the fluid lymph once it has passed through a lymphatic capillary. Then it starts to flow to larger lymphatic channels, then to collecting vessels, and finally to larger trunks. Finally, one of 2 large ducts feeds back into the lowest pressure portion of the building, the cardiovascular system. All lymph collected from the upper right portion of the body is drained by the right lymphatic duct. Torso, right arm, right sides of head, and thorax, and feeds them. All of this is injected into the internal jugular vein. The larger thoracic duct collects lymph from throughout the body and discharges it into the lungs. The vein that runs beneath the clavicle is known as the subclavian vein. Overall, these vessels function similarly to your veins. They work under extremely low pressure. Backflow is prevented by a series of valves, which are aided by smooth muscle. The fluid is kept moving by the vessel walls. So, the lymphatic system collects extra fluid that has been squeezed from blood capillaries and essentially mop it up. That appears to be useful. However, as a living organism that wishes to remain alive, what precisely do you get out of it? Remember, we are talking about recovering 3 liters of blood per day. That is a lot of blood. More than half of the blood volume in your body. You would be looking at a serious drop if that was not returned to your circulatory system. There is a drop in blood pressure, and there is little to no oxygen or waste removal. Furthermore, any obstruction in the lymphatic system, such as a tumor obstructing one of your vessels, can be extremely dangerous, causing edema, swelling, that restricts blood flow, and can result in serious problems. Finally, keep in mind that your lymph plays an important role in immune system function. Let us say you scrape your elbow and something bad happens, like Staphylococcus bacteria. It infiltrates some of the loose areolar connective tissue that is currently covering your entire body beneath your skin. Because that tissue contains interstitial fluid, which drains into your lymphatics. You are going to want to defeat those bad guys before they drain your heart. They have a chance to cause mayhem. What are your plans? This is where your lymph nodes enter the picture. The lymph nodes, which are the body's main lymphoid organs, are where your lymph gets close to and leaves your body. Lymphocytes, the body's resident immune cells, inspected on a regular basis. The lymphocytes may react differently depending on the type of irritant they find in the fluid. The activation of resident macrophages to fight off invading microorganisms they could also activate. If they require additional support, they can rely on the immune system outside of the node. We will get into the specifics of how that happens next time, but for now, just know that it happens. That lymphocytes are present in the loose reticular connective tissue and develop there. This makes up a large portion of your lymph nodes, as well as the majority of your other lymphoid organs. Now, if a node is overwhelmed by the invader it is attempting to stop, it may become unresponsive, irritated. If you are lucky, you will be able to feel some of your nodes. You scratch the sides of your neck with your fingers. They resemble small bumps, yeah, they are there. In addition, visibly enlarged lymph nodes are frequently an early indicator of disease or infection. That is why, during checkups, doctors always feel around under your jawline. However, your lymph nodes are not the only checkpoints in the system. You have got a few as well. Special outposts positioned at strategic entry points to particularly vulnerable tissues, such as those found in the respiratory and digestive systems. Mucosa-associated lymphoid tissues, or MALTs, are lymphoid tissues that are found in the mucosa, outside of the lymphatic vessels, in mucous membranes all over the body. Your tonsils are among the largest collections of these tissues, forming a ring. Around the pharyngeal entrance they can examine everything you eat and breathe there, and try to get rid of any pathogens before they get into the gastrointestinal tract or lungs. It is a big job, which is why sore throats and swollen tonsils are so common. A common symptom of a cold or other infection is a sore throat. Peyer's patches are a collection of malts in the distal portion of the malts. Another checkpoint along the GI tract is the small intestine. And, contrary to popular belief, your appendix is not useless, as it, too, contains a digestive enzyme. It is a clump of lymphoid tissue that is conveniently located where it can obliterate any remaining lymphoid tissue. Before bacteria can breach the intestinal wall during absorption, it must first pass through the stomach. How your lymphocytes and immune cells discover and eliminate any unwelcome visits. Otherwise, we are going to talk about killing you for the rest of this fest. But for now, you have learned how your lymphatic system contributes to cardiovascular health by a system for collecting, purifying, and returning interstitial fluid to the bloodstream. A network of lymphatic vessels. We also discuss the system's critical role in combating terrorism, infection, and how antigen-attacking cells are stored in lymph nodes, other lymphoid organs, and malt regions. Lymphocytes are immune system cells that give vital assistance.